Hello and welcome to the Quarantine Quality Podcast with your host Stan
Me, Adam.
and our special guest.
Me, Georgia. I'm back.
Oh. Welcome back to the pod.
Thank you for having me back.
Is that a natural thing to say? Welcome back to the pod.
This is not the first time you've said it, so...
The thing is I've been listening to Pod Save America, and I've been listening to people take the mick out of Pod Save America, and because of that, I now everything podcast related, I go back to the pod. People who like Pod Save America call themselves friends of the pod.
Oh.
Yeah,
See, the pod just makes me think of Snog, Marry, Avoid, where they go into the pod and then they get made over and then come out. Anyway. Trash TV.
I don't know if any of you will get this, but the pod feels like that thing Sora was stuck in Kingdom Hearts 2. None of you play Kingdom Hearts? None of you? To start things off, a little funny thing happened at work today for me. So, Adam, did you know there was a bit of a national problem with Morrison's?
No.
Okay, so this is
You
horrifying. What I'm about to tell you might shake both of you to your cores, okay? Because it's really horrifying when you begin to think about it for, like, more than 5 seconds. So, we had a bit of a problem at Morrison's today where the card reader wasn't working, right? So it wouldn't accept chip, and sometimes it wouldn't accept card. So a lot of people had to queue up outside Morrison's and go to the AT to get money, come in, then give the money, instead of just using the card like they normally would. Tons more people were giving money. Right? The AT machine had massive queues next to it. All these people lining up and pressing the AT buttons, and then going in and handing out the cash that they had earned to me, that I had to touch, and then using the card machine. And it was crowded because of that. Now, do you want to know? Do you want me to make the story even more horrifying for you?
Please do.
Already
Okay.
pretty horrifying, but sure.
Already pretty horrifying. It was national. It was a national problem, and all the Morrisons were affected.
What happened? Why?
We don't know. We just know that for whatever reason it wouldn't accept chip, and it wouldn't affect some cards. I know our Morrisons recommended that people go out to the AT machine and get money. I don't know if other Morrisons recommended that, but
That's crazy.
yeah, right.
You know what's crazier?
What's crazy?
Sorry. You want to continue?
Well, I was just thinking, right? I'm curious to look at the rate of infection in 2 weeks' time. It's all I'm saying. I'm just curious.
Around
Well, it's like the
Morrison's
Christmas
area.
effect, isn't it? It's like the Christmas effect where
It's
in
going
a
to be the
couple of weeks'
Morrison's.
time it will be an issue.
Exactly. It takes about 2 weeks' time, right, for it to affect.
That's a PR nightmare for Morrison's.
Well, no news report has mentioned this or anything, so I could be giving insider information here.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's not really a PR nightmare for Morrison's, more so I don't really think it would affect Morrison's anyway. I'm just wondering if that will have any meaningful effect on the rate of infection.
Yeah,
It
I'd
might-
say the issue wouldn't necessarily fall with Morrison's. It would fall with the people. I mean, for example, me personally, if it was me, I'd probably just go somewhere else or come back another time rather than get the money to then. I know it's a waste of time, but if you then look at how many people were queuing for the ATM, I'd make the conscious decision to think, okay, there's so many people doing this, I'll go and either come back or go somewhere else. So I'd say it's more the people that, clustered rather than Morrison's itself.
Regardless of the people, it's just I'm telling you, a lot of people didn't do that though. That's the reality. A lot of people were just not interested in going to another shop, so it was packed. And it just makes me wonder. I mean, the real scary thing is that if it happened across all the nation, and that's everyone that shops at Morrison's. I mean, like Georgia said, a lot of people might have just not went to the shop after they heard about that. But we can only hope. I'm just curious. 2 weeks time, we take a look at the rate of infection and see what happens. Is all I'm saying.
You just like to think people would be logical about it, but I very much doubt it.
You mean you'd like to think that? I'd like to think that. But reality has often shown the most stupid thing to happen to be the one that actually does happen. So.
Yeah, constantly.
Also, and we couldn't get him on the podcast today, but I was talking to a colleague of mine, and he made the excellent point. Like, isn't it a good? What are people talking about when they talk about like a cashless society? Could you imagine if just like that one thing happens for like a day?
I was going to say it's a risky business to even contemplate a fully cash free, because you have nothing to fall back on. Well,
yeah, especially if for some reason whatever the bank just stops working. All it takes is like one mistake, and that could cause like a lot of grief.
Yeah. It's the same with anything that's digital or online or a connection. You always run the risk of having nothing to fall back on.
I think when this lockdown's over and we start going to that documentary project that we're doing, we're basically going to try and make a bunch of documentaries. I wanted to do mine on smart cities. This is something to think about for that documentary. The effect that relying on technology can have.
I think it'd be a really interesting one.
Oh, thank you.
This just made me think of this conspiracy theory I saw online like a couple of weeks ago. Actually, it was mainly in America, but it's quite funny to bring it up because the conspiracy was how since Biden has won, all services like digital payment services will stop working. So they were urging people to start taking cash out.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that Y2K? That's just Y2K, right?
Yeah, seems like a recycling of that.
They were just off by 21 years.
And it only happened to one supermarket.
Oh man, he's right. They're right, Adam. It is happening. I mean, it was a problem for like a couple of hours, and then it got fixed after that. But wow, I guess they got that one right. I guess we do live in.
Repeats itself.
Yeah.
Much like the plague of the 20s.
The plague of the 20s. It's a catchy name.
We were talking about the Spanish flu. Spanish flu was 1918 to 1919, right? Oh no, it was. Well, it was obviously longer than just 1 year. But is that the 20s flu?
I think so. I don't know.
It's close enough to the 20s.
A while ago, anyway.
A while ago, yeah. We were talking about that last podcast.
Sort of.
I think there's a lot of interesting historical parallels you can go back to and look at.
Maybe that in itself could be a documentary topic, to be honest.
Oh God, yeah. I'm looking at how did they do pandemic in the 1918s to 1919? Hard to do that though, because I was looking for archive footage, and of course, like video cameras weren't widely available then. So it's really, really hard to find any like videos on malaria during 1918 to 1919. I was looking up like British archive sources and everything. That's why I got that one clip for the intro of the podcast for.
Oh, I see.
Moving on to the next topic, here's something that's been floated around. Have you guys heard about the £500 plan?
I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it.
Yes, exactly. Same here.
So the idea is that a lot of people right now are not getting tested when they should do. There's still a massive problem around incentivizing people to go and, check for testing when they have it. So one of the ideas that was floated around by, we're not sure who, was that, but it was in government, that we supply people £500 if they test positive. And a lot of the press came out and said this is an idea being floated around government, but as we now know, Boris Johnson isn't in favour of that idea, allegedly. So it's a bit weird that that idea leaked. It's almost as if someone in government isn't particularly happy with how situations are being handled, so leaked something to the press. If I had to make an educated guess about what happened. But yeah, what do we think? Award £500 to people who basically get tested positive.
I think, I don't know, it's a bit of a tricky one because if you think about it, I mean, we've already got such underfunding in other places anyway. I mean, if you look at the whole school meals debacle, £500 for everyone tested positive. Is that not just? I mean, I'd like to think that people don't think this way, but is that also not an incentive for people to go out and catch it so that they can get the money?
This is a very interesting. Because this is the one that keeps getting mentioned. I can't remember what town. Have you heard the story of? It was a local government, apparently somewhere in the past. I can't remember what the exact town was, but we'll give a shilling to any person. We have a rat infestation, so we'll give a shilling to any person who catches, the tail of a rat as proof that they killed a rat. And then what they noticed is that a lot of people weren't doing work, but they were coming up with a lot of rat tails, but the rat population stayed the same. Because, of course, I suppose the idea is that they were breeding rats. That's the idea I've heard spread around a lot on social media. Now, of course, I don't know why people keep using that one. Because, like, a venereal infestation, it's not really the same as, like...
Yeah, it's not... I was thinking that. No.
I don't know... That's the example people keep using. But would somebody catch it intentionally in order to get £500?
I don't think people would be stupid enough to catch it deliberately, but I feel like it might not, stop people risking it. Like, it would make the risk less horrible if you know that, well, if I do catch it, I'll get 500, so I'll risk it.
So
anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's rather than I will go out to catch it to get the money, it's more of a I'll go out and have fun, and if I catch it, well, make the most of it because I get 500, as opposed to just. Do you know what I mean?
No, I completely agree. One of the first thoughts I thought, as somebody who works in a incredibly I work in a supermarket. It's probably one of the jobs where it's easier to catch the virus. One of my thoughts has always been, no matter how safe I am, there must be a point where I'm going to just catch this. I can't just avoid it forever. But then, at least if I do, I can buy a PS5. Listen, I'm not saying that's what I should think, and I didn't think that for long. But, there's that lizard part of your brain that just thinks about base desires and needs. That's exactly what my mind flew to when I heard the £500.
I guess, yeah.
That isn't the real reason that this is being put in place. The real reason it's being put in place, and the real reason people aren't going to check, if they have the virus, is because a lot of people are concerned. If I have that 1 or 2 weeks off, sick pay isn't going to be enough for me to really survive those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I can't risk losing the money that I would from work. That is the real reason that this idea was floated around.
Yeah, that is what I was going to point out. Like, there on the one hand is what you say, well, people start wanting to get positive results or wanting to buy themselves a PS5. But then it does have the potential of helping people, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those things that is very much open to loopholes, but with good intentions. So it's what you make of it, really.
Well, but here's the thing, right? Is it really that, or is it just opening up a problem that already existed? That the UK, compared to other European nations, does have a particularly low rate of sick pay. Is it just opening up that floor for it to be more visible now? Is the £500 just, dressing over the wound? Is that the right word, dressing over the wound?
Not sure, but I get what you mean. Maybe it is. I mean, maybe it is. Before the pandemic started, but didn't the UK have like really, really bad sick pay laws, and then they changed it because of the pandemic? I think Spain had better sick pay laws than Britain.
Wow, man, you're throwing some shade at Spain. I don't know enough about Spanish law to know if that's bad or not, but
Well, it's not throwing shade. It's just like, economically speaking, when you talk about Spain, it's not in the best position, especially not compared to Britain. That's what I'm trying to say.
oh yeah, right. I mean, there are obviously countries with lower GDP that can seemingly afford to provide much better sick pay to people in their nation. It's like, and it's very interesting. Have you seen the TV interview of Purity Patel where they're asking why are the death rates so high? And she says, "Oh well, there's a lot of things you have to factor in. For instance, it has a much higher effect on, ethnic minorities." And it's like, hold on, okay. Well, first of all, let's just ignore France and tons of other European nations that have quite a high ethnic minority population. But like, do you not just, why is that? Why is that the case, right? Why is it that it affects ethnic minorities so negatively compared to the majority population, right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a rational argument to make. I didn't see that.
Oh, it's not even the argument, but it does affect ethnic minorities worse. But
Yeah.
We're using that as an excuse. Maybe we should look at, maybe it's
Why?
a bad thing that it affects ethnic minorities worse.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Like, asking why are we so bad, and then saying because we have a lot of ethnic minorities doesn't sound like a good thing to say.
No. You know what? I didn't think about it from that angle, but I don't think Pretty meant it like that. And
I don't think so, no. But
I do see
benefit
what
of
you
the
mean.
doubt, obviously, right? Not trying to implicate anyone, but it is just a weird thing to bring up.
With the £500, maybe we need to ask ourselves why we needed to put the £500 in. Why are people so afraid that 2 weeks off of their workday could cause them to, during a global pandemic that is affecting everyone massively and is driving our economy down? Maybe it's not good that we have a situation where people are afraid to stop 2 weeks work because it could be massively negative for their finances.
Yeah. It's not good.
It's not good.
Is any of the world good right now? Is it?
Hey, New Zealand's looking pretty okay at the moment. And
Yeah.
Malawi.
Oh, well, that's something.
New
Yeah,
Zealand,
apparently Malawi only had like 195 deaths. Just to put that into context, Georgia.
I think it's gone up to 200 now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But like, I mean, that's not that bad still. That's a pretty good number in comparison to other nations.
It is.
That's the spirit.
Do we lead the world in terms of deaths or death ratio?
So. I think
We do,
so.
yes. I think so. Let me just check.
Britain's always the leader. We've always been a leader.
We always have to win, even if it's in bad things.
Exactly.
I can't believe it's worse than Brazil.
Yeah,
They had a leader who was mocking people for wearing masks, and we somehow.
Could it be because of poor testing? Is that possible? Because exactly that they have a leader that is mocking masks. They don't have the same, as far as I understand, they don't have the same medical capabilities. I feel bad. Maybe not. You know what?
It wouldn't be to do with testing. You have to keep in mind it would be how they record deaths.
Oh, deaths, right? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, well, we had that issue at first, didn't we? In regards to people just weren't being a statistic at all, which is why it was so low for a while. We had the same issue.
Or people that would just, disappear from the Excel documents that they were keeping. Yes. Which has happened again because 400,000 criminal records have just been lost.
Wait, was it 400,000? I thought it was 45,000.
Wait, hold on.
400,000? Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me check this. I don't want to seem like an idiot now. I'm sure it was. God, it's a good thing we can edit these videos, isn't it?
Oh, it really is, isn't it?
Okay. Home Secretary Priti Patel says engineers working to restore 400,000 wiped police records.
What?
How do you lose 400,000?
How do you lose 400,000 documents?
Whoopsie.
That whoopsie, you could say that.
They might be using the same Excel document they've been keeping the COVID statistics in. I don't know. That's
Google hard
really
drive
actually
ran out of space. They lost the subscription, and so they deleted. You know, they lost the subscription to like Dropbox, something like that, right? And they went back to the free version, only 15 gigabyte, and it's like Dropbox is like, oh, we're gonna delete everything unless you back it up, and no one backed it up.
All right, we've only got 15 gigabytes to work with, guys. So you have to put the folder in, and you have to delete it straight away as soon as it gets in there. Okay, take it to the next computer, then delete.
Oh man,
400,000. I don't know how.
It's incredible. I'm baffled.
It's impressive how bad that is.
Yeah.
It is.
What I'm curious then is what kind of criminal records is it? Oh, well, because it's a criminal record, it must have been people who were convicted, right?
Well, I heard it also affected DNA data and stuff like that on ongoing cases.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, fact checked me here, but again, I remember off the top of my head, like DNA data has also been lost.
Oh my God. See, I wish I would done more research for this now, but I just wanted to mention it quickly as a joke. But my God, this story is baffling. Just looking into the news stories around it.
It's unbelievable.
Got a love
I suppose
protection.
DPA has gone too far.
Remember when Google and Apple were like, no, we don't, you can't have a centralized database of people's COVID information. And then they were like, no, we won't assist you in this creation of the app. Well, I don't usually side with major conglomerates or major companies, but I think Google and Apple probably made the right call on that one, I'd say. They probably were correct to say that in the end.
Yeah. I feel like if Google or Apple would have been involved, things would have been a bit better in this sense. Like, because who chooses to use an Excel spreadsheet?
Lemon Excel.
Come on.
Is Excel really that bad? Many companies probably choose to
I
use
avoid
Excel.
it.
I avoid it. No, I mean, it's good for certain things, right? It's good for data entry. So it's not completely unbelievable that they've used it. But like for a situation as important as this, surely you'd have some kind of check.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, it's really easy to just accidentally delete Excel cells. So
yeah,
I would have.
I've
well,
done that many
as
times,
is
that's why I
apparently
avoid
the
it.
case.
Yeah. Well, no, it filled up. It wasn't deleted. It filled up.
Filled up. How many? But there's so many Excel cells. How did they run out of Excel cells?
I guess someone thought it was unlimited.
They could just create a new document, right?
I was going to say, why didn't they just do like part 1, part 2?
They must have
Yeah.
known it was coming near the end, right?
But that's exactly the thing. Like Excel is used for data entry, right? But you'd do a bit of research, or like you'd have some kind of check, or like, okay, we're nearing the end of the Excel spreadsheet. We should probably create a new one, or use some other service, data entry service.
Surely they needed to think of a way to back it up anyway. Just to make sure it could back up somewhere. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand.
Well, apparently we'll be leading in technology, in like tech soon, so it's okay.
Oh, good.
Some of these records now involve live cases, investigations which are still going on.
There you go. Not
There we
completed
go.
yet over here. It's unbelievable, and it's kind of gotten swept under the rug, this story, hasn't it? It's not been as prominent as I thought it would be.
Well, there's just been a plethora of stories at the moment. Like how in Grant Sharps faces fury over mass COVID outbreak at DVLA.
DVLA?
Mm.
Yep. Ministers under fire for shameful virus spread as staff told to work on with more than 500 cases at Legacy in Swansea. Sorry. Ministers at the centre of an explosive row over the failure to protect workers from COVID-19 as the Observer reveals the largest workplace outbreak of the virus has taken a place at the top government organisation. And then everyone has to ask, how did 500 DVLA workers catch COVID?
Yeah.
500. Oh my god, that is a massive number.
How did I mean, it must have been in the spread in the call center. Wait, do they still have to go to some no call center, but like, do they still have to go into the office then?
I suppose so, because it says there were 500 cases recorded at the agency in Swansea.
Yeah. How else would 500 people working at the same company catch COVID?
That is
Yeah.
the only way that could happen.
So I
Unless
guess
they're
they
all mates and got involved in a massive party somewhere else.
It's a DVLA Christmas
All
party.
500.
Well, let's give the DVLA workers the benefit of the doubt, because more than 500 cases have been recorded at Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency's office in Swansea, where employees claim people with symptoms were encouraged to return to work while vulnerable workers have had requests to work from home turned down.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I've heard that happen in other places as well. I had a friend who told me that his boss had COVID and they all got tested, which is fine. But whilst they were waiting for results, they still had to go to work, which just made no sense.
No, that's insane.
That is insane.
I'll be completely willing to say that has not been a thing at the Morrisons I work at. They've been very clear that, you know, if even if it's just testing, you have to stay home.
Yeah, same at my company.
I find it baffling that my boyfriend's work has had so many people have COVID. I don't know if they've been at work with COVID, but they've definitely had not many days between being at work and being diagnosed with the COVID. And yet nothing has been done about anyone else there. It's all really sketchy, I think. The line between how people deal with it.
Yeah. Very, very sketchy. I do wonder, right? Like, in a more serious note, is if someone was to do a study on like the mortality on the DVLA situation, for instance, like if anybody actually died because of this, because bosses made people go to work despite the outbreak, because that feels like something we should probably know. Because that's ultimately how much of a failure as a boss you are if you got your own employees literally killed.
I was going to say that surely there must be some sort of way they could monitor the bosses that are making their workers go in to discourage them from doing that.
I don't know. It seems like it will be it's Grant Shapps who's going to be taking a blunt of the criticism here. It's at least publicly. It seems like he'll be the one that'll be getting the grilling. It doesn't look good. He already appeared on Piers Morgan. I haven't actually watched that yet, but Piers has been vicious against the Conservative government so far. I don't want to make that seem as if it's particularly praise for Piers Morgan. I highly suspect he's doing this probably because Boris Johnson wouldn't go on an interview with him during the elections. I suspect that's probably the case. But I do appreciate the fire. I do appreciate the spicy grilling we've been getting.
Spicy.
Yeah, spicy.
Someone's going to remix that and have you say that Piers Morgan's spicy.
Oh, we don't have enough fans for that. We don't have enough people listening to the podcast for that to happen. I'm fine.
Yes, but I'm on the podcast.
Wait, can you remix? Can you do audio?
Do you have followers?
I might do.
More importantly.
Adam! Just trying to get attention.
Would
Just
never
trying to
want
get some
attention.
clout. Hmm?
I'm never begging for attention, me.
I don't want to be mean, but it felt like that was sarcasm.
Listen, if people want to give me attention, that's not my problem.
No, that's fair enough.
But I won't fish for it.
Speaking of attention, does that link to what I said? I don't know. I'm just going to move on to the next point. So basically, Boris Johnson, Sage contacted Yahoo. Not Boris Johnson. Okay, let's start again. Continuing on from government decisions that probably haven't really helped anyone. SAGE, or the Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies, have told Yahoo News it's untenable for Johnson to blame the grim numbers, or the deaths, entirely on the new variant. Professor Stephen Reicher said the Prime Minister should take responsibility for imposing a lockdown on England that was weaker than the first one in March.
Strong words, sort of.
Word. So,
I mean, strong science words, for a scientist.
Much science.
I mean, I don't know if you want us to give an opinion. I guess he's right. Is this a second lockdown? The second in October? Because that was very weak. We were talking about this the other day, wasn't it? I feel like the tier system was stricter than the lockdown that we had in October or September, whenever that was.
Definitely
the tier system was nowhere near as strict.
What, as the lockdown in October?
I personally didn't
before
feel the
that.
difference between
Oh,
the
okay.
lockdown
no.
years of lockdown 2 and the tiers.
I forgot about the lockdown in October. Whenever you talk about that time period, I think about the tier system. I forgot that there was one before that.
That's the one he's referring to, isn't he? The SAGE member.
Let's see. I'll just check quickly.
I mean, surely, unless he's talking about this one.
Imposing the lockdown in England that is weaker than the first one. No, I think he's saying this one is weaker than the first one.
It does feel weaker, but did everybody just forget about the second lockdown then in October?
In October? It wasn't particularly useful, was it? It was quite short, and then
I was going to say it didn't really
was...
feel like anything.
No, it didn't.
The tier system was immediately introduced after that. And the tier system... I remember when level 4 was introduced. I thought that's a joke, right? That's a Twitter joke when I saw level 4 trending. I was like, oh, no. That seems like a sick joke. That seems like a sick Twitter joke. Like, oh, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a level 4 soon.
Yeah, because didn't we go to level 4 like a week later? A week after being in tier 3?
Mm-hmm.
Such a
yep,
short
we're barely
period
in
of time.
tier 3 down here. 4.
In Sussex, we moved from tier 2 to tier 4.
Yep.
Really? Oh, not Surrey. Here in Surrey, we went
Hastings and Rye, I think, were in tier 3 like a week before.
Same here. Because I think it was East Sussex, Surrey, and a couple more, maybe even Kent. That exact thing happened. We went from tier 2, I think it was, to tier 3, and literally a week later, maybe less, we were told, okay, we're now in tier 4. What does tier 4 do?
Yeah, Polegate and Eastbourne was tier 2 to tier 4. But my sister works in Hastings, and she said they had tier 3, I think, for like a week before or something like that.
Is Polegate still East Sussex?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, then I'm probably wrong with the East Sussex thing. Surrey was definitely tier 2, then 3, and a week later 4. It was a very quick jump. It escalated quickly.
Yeah.
It's been so much stuff going on. So much stuff happening, man.
So much stuff happening, but also nothing happening.
Yeah, so much. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So much stuff is happening, but because nothing's happening.
It's a very, very, very odd combination of being witness to perhaps probably one of the most relevant years we'll ever live through historically. 2020, 2021 are probably the year's history is being made. And how are we observing it? Like through the window, through a computer screen, just isolated completely away from it.
Literally, it's just.
If you're doing things the way you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're following. Oh, it's just. It's surreal. I think it's the fact that so much is going on, but nothing's going on, is what makes it feel so unsettling.
Well, going from one bad news to another, if you want to hear more bad news.
God, we've got a lot of news today.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to very quickly bring up South African data. So Johannesburg is doing a couple of studies because South Africa is not doing so well with its new variant. So they've just very quickly mentioned that they've done some research into how effective the vaccines are, and they're seeing some early signs of quite worrying signs that this new South African variant, aside from being potentially more deadly and more infectious, it could also completely or partially evade the antibodies by the vaccines.
Okay, man, there is a major difference between completely and partially, okay?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They don't know yet. It's still early data. It's preliminary results.
And I think that's the really important thing to focus on, that it's still far too early for us to be able to say whether or not it's completely ineffective, the new vaccine against this thing. It still very well could be. This is early data. There's been a lot of talk about the UK variant having a 0.4 higher mortality rate, or 0.3, and again with that, we don't know if that's the case yet. This is still early on.
Do you think that information being released early on is also to encourage people to be more cautious?
I would imagine so. Yeah, I think that makes sense, doesn't it? It's just be more careful with what you do.
One of the first things the World Health Organization mentioned was to be completely. I remember during the beginning of the pandemic, I think we talked about this in one of the earlier podcasts, is that it's necessary for government to be completely open about all the information they're finding with public.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the only way that it's going to encourage people to take it so seriously is if they know all the facts.
Yeah, 100% agree.
All the potential facts.
Well, yeah, just as a possibility, nobody's saying that, we're going all going to die, but which we are, if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a factual statement.
Let's not open that door.
But yeah, exactly. Let's not open that door.
Not today.
But it's important for people to know, and just to kind of also mention in a more positive angle. People in the UK, I think, are the most willing, either in the world, one of the top in the world, to take the vaccine. So if, vaccines are as effective as they would be with the normal variants, if it turns out that it was just a statistical anomaly or a data anomaly, then we may get everybody vaccinated. I think it's 90% of the population vaccinated by September, I believe they said.
Wow, they really changed that. I remember when this vaccine was first being discussed, they were talking about vaccinating 40% of the population. 90% is a massive jump.
Yeah, it's massive jump. It's good. I read that the UK has a very good vaccine rollout plan. So that's positive, bad things, which there are a lot of them with how the government is handling things. But then I guess we do also have this very good, important thing.
Well, I hate to be skeptical. I would just be careful to suggest that we may not. You know what? I think this is important to say. Because I was wondering, is this breaching journalistic integrity? No, not at all. As a journalist, you should look at what's been happening and point out what's happened. And I think it's very fair to say that the government have not been able to keep up with the numbers that they have suggested so far.
Oh,
When they were first
vaccinated.
testing, when they first started testing people, they suggested, what were the numbers? I can't remember completely, but it took them, I think, weeks to get to the number that they had originally first planned.
Oh yeah.
When they were talking about the phone app, so it was supposed to be rolled out by May, and it ended up coming out September 24th.
Yeah.
All I'm suggesting is that when the government says that it plans to do this by then, I would suggest having some skepticism that they will actually achieve that goal.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Well, by the logic of May turned into September, September could turn into Christmas.
Of course. I mean, it's all about like
So-
distribution, how like the way we're doing things seems to be good, or the way that is it the NHS in charge of it, or whoever's in charge of distributing the vaccine seems to have an effective plan. But of course, we're also relying on companies like Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson and Johnson,
Serica.
Oxford AstraZeneca, is it pronounced? The Oxford one. We're also relying on them because they also have other suppliers, not suppliers, sorry, other countries to supply and see how things go. But hopefully, if the pace stays the same and if nothing goes horribly wrong, which is very likely to happen, we might be in a better place. I just try to lighten the mood. Come on, not everything is terrible.
Is that really possible at the moment?
I mean, as much as you possibly can. There is the plague infecting the land, but
You know what? I'm going to make my new life motto. Not everything is terrible. Adam, 2021.
exactly.
Not everything's terrible.
Well, I don't know if you want to finish this, but there's something I want to kind of mention today. It's a thought I had, a shower
Okay.
thought. But it's not in the shower. Anyway, I don't know if it snowed where you are. Has it snowed?
No.
We haven't had a single flake.
Really?
Haven't.
It snowed here in Surrey, and I just I couldn't help myself think. It's so great. I love snow. It's pleasing to watch it snow. But I just thought, if there's something that is going to like if there's some kind of all-powerful creator, right?
Yeah.
I thought this was almost like a sick joke because I've never seen this much snow, and I think it's been like this for quite a while. This is an anomaly. I can't speak today.
Anomaly.
Something weird. Anomaly. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a situation where we want people to stay at home, but then it's not start snowing. What are people going to do when it snows? Everybody's going to go outside.
Adam just wants to go outside and throw a snowball at someone.
Yeah.
Well, to be
I'm going
honest,
to call this
I
podcast
selfishly
episode
wanted
God.
to snow.
Sorry. You better.
Sorry, I want it to snow purely so I can get nice, different-looking photos. Because there's only so much you can take when things look the exact same in the exact same space you're allowed to go to.
Mm,
So if it snowed, it would look at least a little different.
same.
I'm going to call this episode God Taunts Adam.
Please do.
Backup name.
Why,
suggested.
God? Why
Sounds
can't I go
terrible.
outside and throw snowballs and make a snowman?
Yeah, dude. It's annoying. I live in in a block of flats, sort of. There's like 15 different flats here. 15, at the very least, 15 different people. There's more than that, but anyway.
So many people who I could potentially throw snowballs at and get evicted from
Yeah.
the house.
I don't think they can get evicted. They could probably file a complaint against me.
No, that's what I mean to you. Yeah.
If you can get out and build a snowman, Adam, could you please build it to look like Olaf for me?
I don't want to make Olaf.
I want to see someone build an Olaf.
I don't want to make a snowman.
Oh, have you seen that picture that people have created? And it's like, do you want to build a snowman? And then it's just Boris Johnson in the corner saying, no, stay at home.
You see, that's what I mean. It's like, oh, let's go, build a snowman. We can't because Boris doesn't let us, but we'll do it anyway. It's because it snowed. It shouldn't have snowed.
True.
God didn't want me catching COVID. Why'd he make it snow?
Exactly, dude.
I'm but a
Logic.
man. I can't resist the beautiful temptation of the glistening snow.
Mm-hmm. Shining.
Okay.
It's soft. It's soft, warm. It's soft, sweet rustles as I tread my feet against it.
Can't relate.
But I mean, to be fair, to a certain extent, it is pleasing.
Oh yeah, treading on snow is very pleasing when you hear the
Great.
crunch.
Can't
Oh,
relate.
it's right there. It's right there
Oh.
taunting you, Adam.
Yes. I am sorry, George.
That's okay. I have trodden on snow one time. I got my mum to deliberately bring out my walking frame to the driveway so I could crunch snow.
Nice. That's something that everybody should experience.
Yeah, I've also jumped in a puddle one time.
No, I feel like I may
I'm
have
not as
done
keen
that
on that. Nearly every
yeah.
time I've jumped in a puddle, it's because I've had holes in my shoes. So every time it's been awful for me.
I have discovered it's more fun to be in the wheelchair for a puddle than it is to jump in a puddle. Did you guys see the giant puddle I went through a few weeks ago? That
No.
was dream. Yeah, I'll send you a video scan. But honestly, it was like so deep. It was literally so deep it went up to like my shin.
Oh god.
Splashback. Yeah, it was beautiful. But if I wasn't in the wheelchair, I would have been like completely soaked. But yeah, sped through it full speed. It was the dream.
Those little moments and that make you feel like a child again.
Yeah, you got to take them, especially
Yeah.
at the moment. It's familiarity. It's like the programs I watch.
But we at the podcast are not telling you to go outside so that you can tread in snow or run in puddles. There is a quarantine out, and we ask you to respect it.
At the
Only
very
if
least,
it's
wear a
safe.
mask. Come on.
Yes, wear a mask. It will protect you from puddles.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Quarantine Quality Podcast, featuring Stan, Adam, and our guest Georgia. Georgia, before we leave, do you want to plug yourself?
Yes, I am the one that rolls on YouTube. I need to get some more content in there, so feel free to comment anything you would like to see from me. And I now also have a photography page on Instagram, the one that photographs, which has all my photography from all my walks and things. So follow me on there as well.
Yes, and just to kind of remind everybody that we are on Spotify and Google Podcast, as well as on StoCuriosity.net.
He's that passionate.
We are on Spotify. We are on
We're
Google
on Spotify,
Podcast.
follow it.
You know how long it took to be able to find a platform?
I wouldn't say that, man. That's not advertising your journalistic abilities too well.
What sort of research is that, Adam?
I do have a
How
full-time
long
job.
it took me
you know.
to find one website that uploads all of that stuff to you with minimal effort.
Hold on a bloody second, okay? Finding that website was actually hard. Every other website you have to pay for. We do not have the budget, I'm afraid.
Okay, no, that's fair enough, and I don't want to spend money on.
Exactly. Finding a platform that lets me upload unlimited stuff and puts it on Google Podcasts, on Spotify. Spotify. It's actually made by Spotify, of course. Be Spotify. It's a good accomplishment. Don't take that away from me.
I won't, Adam. We appreciate the work you do here at Stoke Curiosity, and if you want to look at more of Adam's work, you can go to stokecuriosity.com and see it there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everyone, thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day/evening/night.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. It was glad to have you on. And we will see you for the next episode of Quarantine Quality Podcast.